Alrighty. Hey there, everyone. Power 5 Meteorologist Allan Nosoff here in the studio. Happy Thanksgiving for everyone celebrating out there. I know it's been a little bit of a rough go for some of us in the primary snow belt. Wanted to show you this before we get started. This is a live look right now at 271. One of those lake effect snow bands is kind of stopping on a dime and producing some pretty heavy snowfall right now. Take a look at this. You can barely make out blacktop. And that's despite all the salt ODOT put out there. This is going to be a common scene closer and closer to the Cleveland metro as the sun goes down and that lake effect band continues to pivot on through. So this is 271 at 322. And yeah, not a lot of blacktop going on right now. Traffic, of course, moving a little bit slower. So if you are planning to hit the road in the next hour or so near Euclid, near Mayfield Heights, near Cleveland Heights, we're going to see the snow ramping on up. And we're not at the peak of the storm yet, believe it or not. We're actually only now seeing that lake effect band intensifying a little bit later, and that has allowed at least the first half of the day to be not as bad, but all the alerts are still out there. And let me know, by the way, what you're seeing out there. Maybe you're in between the lunch, maybe walking off that turkey as well. Let me know in the comments what you are seeing out there. We didn't have a noon show today, so I wanted to hop on Facebook, let you know what the latest is going on across our neck of the woods, and we still have it there. You can see that turquoise color. That is the lake effect snow warning for the potential of a half a foot in some areas. We've seen the first chunk of it melt because of warmer temperatures, and I'll show you that in a moment. But I also wanted to show you this. Down there toward Akron, Summit County, we actually got the winter weather advisory expanded. So let me take this off real quick so you can take a look. Summit County now, this purple color right there, that's the winter weather advisory for a few inches of snow later tonight and for Black Friday especially. So for the daytime hours today in Akron, it's more or less clear, maybe a touch of light snow, but the action gets going later tonight and into tomorrow for Portage County, for Summit County. That's where I think a couple of inches might get going later on for Black Friday. But really here for Cuyahoga County, it's really the east side that gets the higher totals, less so on the west side of Cuyahoga County. And that's why you go out toward Lorain, toward Avon. Farther west you go, the less snow there will be there. So that's what that looks like. Again, we're seeing the snow picking on up, less and less blacktop as we get through the course of the afternoon. It'll kind of accelerate. And speaking of which, I wanted to show you this. You're only going to see it here on News 5. This is a heavy snow radar. This is a specialized look that we made here to show where the heavier snow bands are. And wherever you see the red starting to poke on through near Lyndhurst, that's an inch of snow per hour. That's where the visibility gets reduced to a half a mile, where you maybe can't see more than a few cars ahead of you. But notice it's very localized. That's the nature of these lake effect bands. You literally go a couple of miles north along 271 toward Euclid, where we did have about a half an inch, 3/4 of an inch snowfall. And over there, you're barely seeing the snow in comparison to that heavy snow band. So it's all about the wobbles, where those squalls persist, where we're going to see those higher snow ratios, where we're going to see the higher snowfall rates of an inch or so per hour. That's what that looks like there. Let's see. Sue is saying, let's see, where is this? No snow out here in Sheffield Lake, thank goodness. Yeah, it's not going to be there all day long. And in fact, I think you're going to miss out on the worst of the snow. So again, this is localized. So we're not even looking at too much out there. And another one here, hardly any in Madison, Jess mentioning. Yeah, because the lake effect band moving inland. The snow forecast that we've had the last couple of days between Trent, Katie, Phil, and myself had the coastline near Madison much less snow, only an inch or two right along the shoreline because Lake Erie is just so warm. I'm going to show you that in just a moment. Let me hide this over here. Let's get moving just a little bit more here. Again, up toward Madison, you can kind of see there's a lot less intense snow there versus just a few miles to the south where the snow is much stronger. We also have a couple of snow showers. I don't want to forget about my inland friends. Light snow that will probably only coat the grassy surfaces, the colder surfaces of the cars. Might get quick coatings, maybe a half an inch in spots. Either way, though, slick travel, even though the roads are wet and salted. Once the sun goes down and the temperatures go well below freezing, watch out for black ice, watch out for icy spots. The concerns really are when you're heading back home from the turkey feasts at home or at loved ones or at friends. It's going to be a bit of a slow and go situation once we head into tonight. Again, Focusing in on that band, wherever you see that darker blue, that's the inch-per-hour snowfall rates. And it's kind of starting to slow down once again. And we're starting to see it stream literally just about 2-3 miles north of Cleveland. So in Cleveland itself, it's light to steady snow that is melting because it's just above freezing. But in East Cleveland toward Mayfield Heights, along the 271 corridor, that's where we're still seeing some of that heavier snow. I'm going to take a little bit of a closer look here with you, just to get a little bit of a better idea here. Where we are out toward, I mean, take a look at that. Right along US 6, right along Route 6, along 322. We can literally see it in Cleveland Heights. Look at that blue bullseye right there. So it's a little bit of a wobble. It's not a consistent lake band like we get during the big blockbuster lake effect events. This is not one of them. We could see a couple of areas get closer to double digits later tonight. Again, right now, this is kind of the appetizer. This is the start of this lake effect ramping up. And it's really going to be for Geauga. I think that's where the bullseye likely ends up being into tonight and tomorrow morning. So over the next several hours, it's cold. And I think even in Cleveland, we do get to about the freezing mark at 5 o'clock once the sun goes down. And that's when I think the snow will actually start to stick. And even in downtown, I think there will be some lighter accumulation. Just outside of downtown, head literally just a few miles south along 77 towards the 480 interchange. I think there could be several inches of snow on the ground later on tonight. So that's what it looks like there. I want to show you the temperatures. In fact, actually, at the airport, we've dropped a degree from 33 to 32. So we've dropped a degree. The colder it gets, the better chance the snow sticks, even if it's lighter. But up towards Madison, one of the comments that we had earlier, where it's barely snowing in Madison, the lake effect is happening, skipping over you. It happens after, happens inland. That's just how it geographically happens in the primary snow belt. That's why south of Menor, out towards Ravenna, where it's 31, we're going to see the snow stick later on this afternoon as it picks up some more. Again, nothing crazy strong. Remember, last year around this time, we had that 60-inch bullseye, a little bit closer to the primary snow belt. We're not dealing with that. We're going to deal with 1/6 of that for a few localized areas. Mansfield, Ashland, all below freezing, so some coatings here. But honestly, this is not your storm. This is not really big time snow for you. Maybe an inch in some spots. So you don't have to worry about that, but you do have to worry about the very cold feel out there. It feels much colder because of the wind, and this is the wind right now. Of course, the strongest wind is right along the lakeshore. We're still talking 30 to 40, but 20 to 30 mile an hour gusts wherever you are between Worcester and Millersburg to Canton, 22 mile an hour gusts. So still windy. That makes it feel very cold, really like the middle of winter, honestly. Even though the calendar reads November 27th, it looks like January 27th with these wind chills. 20 on the nose, Mansfield over to Ashland, 23 in Elyria to Menor at 23. Even though Menor is above freezing, it feels like well below freezing because of the wind. This is the feels like forecast, by the way, here in Cleveland. Notice that teens return again tonight. So if you're going to be out late tonight, maybe heading back home from any Thanksgiving festivities at, let's say, 8, 9 o'clock, it'll feel like about 18, 19 degrees. So make sure you bundle on up because it is going to be on the cold side there. Let's see. Jess, I mean, you mentioned hardly any in Madison and you were looking forward to snow. Listen, this is just the beginning, Jess. I think this winter, we're going to see more snow than last winter. If you missed out on our winter forecast, it's up on news5cleveland.com, by the way. Trent really summarized it really well. There is a boom or bust potential, especially when it comes to some of the storm track that looks to be across the Appalachian Mountains. If we do get that one storm to really bomb out, what I mean by bomb out, get really intense really fast, it slows itself down and produces snow on the northwest side, getting into northeast Ohio. So our official Power 5 winter forecast is for 53 inches here in Cleveland. That means a whole lot more in the snow belt. So you will definitely get more chances. And there is lake effect possible Sunday into Monday, as well as later on next week. We're going to get into that in just a moment. But let me know, honestly, what you're seeing out there. I mean, Sherry's talking about all the hype. I don't see any hype here. We're just giving you accurate forecasts. And we've mentioned about it being really only primary snow belt for the majority of today, only into this evening and tonight where it does get into that secondary snow belt. And south of Cleveland, you're not seeing anything yet. That changes tonight. Again, patience. A lot of people see these crazy headlines not from us. You got to stick to us because we've been telling you and guiding you over the last several days about the timing and who sees what. Speaking of which, here is that timing. This evening is when I think generally the most amount of people in our viewing area get to see the heavier snowfall amounts. It's not crazy heavy. We could see up to 1 inch per hour, maybe 1 to 2 in a very few localized areas in the primary snow belt. And eventually, yes, the secondary snow belt does get involved later on. But into Friday, things change a little bit. So here's the thing. Scattered snow showers, they're likely, but scattered snow showers, see, I'm not hyping it up. That's just what it's going to be. So lighter amounts for tomorrow still could get 1 inch or 2 or 3. And in the primary snow belt where that snow is going to really try to hold on, that band will not be as intense as later on this evening, but a few more additional inches are possible there. So when you combine the 2 or 3 inches near Chardon on the ground right now with another 6 inches expected later this evening and tonight, and then another inch or so tomorrow, you can get a grand total of double digits there, but only for a few mile stretch. Because on the other side of that band, a few miles you go, and it's only 2 or 3 inches instead of 12 or 13. So that's what it looks like for tomorrow, Black Friday. Any Black Friday shopping, make sure that you are bundled up and have the shovels ready to try to dig yourself out of any of those parking spots in the primary snow belt. Elsewhere, not as bad. And then Saturday, because I know a lot of people still have some plans, some travel plans. Here's the deal. We will have a leftover snow shower or 2, really only near the lake in the primary snow belt. Doesn't look like a big deal. Our next storm arrives right on the heels Saturday evening and Saturday night. We could actually get a few inches of snow there. So let's get into the Futurecast. I want to show you this as well. 5 o'clock this afternoon, there's that lake effect band, but also notice we have a little bit more blue just to the south. That's going to try to eat away from the main band. So that's why I don't see these super high totals like I've seen other people be talking about, oh, we're going to get 20 inches. Oh, no, not quite. No. I think we could still get double digits near an area well to the south of Menor, like a Middlefield, for example, but we're not looking at anything too crazy out there. Watch this into tonight. That is still the main band. It's still there, and that's why I think even in Metro Cleveland later tonight, this is at 8 p.m., conditions will be nasty at times where the visibility is a half a mile, where the wind is still blowing 35 miles an hour. So not quite blizzard conditions, but not far away from it. And then eventually this band starts to break up. It doesn't look as intense by tomorrow morning. So when I see you for Good Morning Cleveland tomorrow by 6:30, it will not look as bad as, let's say, 2 or 3 in the morning. Then we're not over yet, folks. We're actually going to get a couple more bands even inland. This is from Lake Michigan. All of the Great Lakes are involved with this lake effect event. And then there's that leftover part of our initial band this evening. So scattered snow showers, that's literally what it's going to be like tomorrow, or a couple of inches for some of us. And then it really gets cold. Saturday morning, I wouldn't be surprised if inland and to the west, the farther west you are, like in Ashland, we're like 20 degrees. Yeah, maybe even some upper teens versus middle 20s along the lakefront, near 20 for Akron and Canton. So very cold start for Saturday morning. But again, my friends, that's not all, folks. We got another storm later Saturday evening, Saturday night, and Sunday. Wanted to guide you through this one real quick as well, because I'm not going to have a lot of time to talk about it on TV. This is Saturday, so we're jumping ahead a couple of days. Watch the snow breaking out. Yeah, it's not a typo. It's not a glitch on our Futurecast. The highest chance for higher totals is going to be the farther west you are, because you're going to be the closest to the storm as it moves across Michigan and into Ontario. So we're actually going to be on the warm side of the storm. So we get some moderate snow late Saturday evening, and then Saturday night we get warm air to move in on the warm side of the storm, switching it over to an icy mix overnight. This could be very treacherous, very icy conditions Saturday night and Sunday morning before I think we switch over to mostly rain Sunday morning as it tapers off for the Browns game. Browns game conditions are because there'll be a little bit of light rain, some wind, and eventually by Sunday night, there's the return of the lake effect. Not intense. This is very light stuff, even compared to today. This is light, but some coatings on top of 1 to 3 inches of snow are possible Sunday night into Monday morning. So for today and tomorrow, some of us, very few of us, could get closer to that 10-inch amount. And then on Sunday, I think a general 1 to 3 looks like a safe bet. The highest chance of the higher totals is going to be to the west, where we could even see 3 or 4 inches of snow on the ground come Sunday morning before it switches over to rain. Mentioned a lot. I'm going to take a brief break to take a look here. Andy mentions that he lives here in Burton. Let me know, by the way, Andy, what you're seeing or anyone watching. Maybe taking a little bit of a break from any Thanksgiving festivities. Maybe you just had the turkey and you're taking a little bit of a social media break. Make sure, by the way, you are following me on social media. Very important thing here, because I know that not a lot of people per se go on Facebook a lot. I'm also available on several different social media platforms. Let me actually just pull this up real quick so you can take a look. Again, we don't have a lot of time when it comes to talking about social media, but again, if you have Instagram or X, that's your preferred method, you can find me right there. Facebook, that's where you can find me as well for more updates. Tessa and I, we are also going to see you at 4 o'clock on News 5, so make sure you're tuning in on for that. Phil Stakel will be here momentarily. He's going to be guiding you through the rest of this evening during the height of the lake effect snow. I also just got a notification here from Trent. So real quick, let's see. Yeah, honestly, Trent is definitely looking for that intensification for the squall later this evening. One of the reasons why we haven't seen too much snow, especially for our coastal friends, is that there's been so much wind and the lake is still too warm. So when you have a crazy 40-mile-an-hour wind with the lake still in the 40s, it's above freezing. And let me actually show you this right now, by the way, so you have a better idea of what I'm talking about. Current temperatures. Here we go. So notice Menor is at 34. That's 2 degrees above freezing. When you have 34 and that wind, it's kind of shearing the tops off the clouds. What that means is the storm can't grow, the clouds can't grow and add moisture and produce the heavy snow. They get cut off, so that limits the amount of snow it can produce, and it's not as intense. And it's also a wetter snow because it's above freezing once it reaches land. So that's why the coastal areas, the snow map that we've had from last night, let me actually try to pull it up here for you. Bear with me one moment. So this is what Trent had this morning. Notice our forecast from the last several days, right along the coast, we're talking about only an inch or two. And that's going to be when the sun goes down later on this evening. We've barely seen that snow stick on areas that are not grass or not cars. So you'll get in a little bit later this afternoon. But again, the farther south you go, the higher the totals. Closer to Chardon, interior Geauga County, that's where we are looking at the highest totals. And again, the big key word, where squalls persist. So that's the deal there. All right, real quick, let's take one more look at the radar. I want to let, of course, everyone go in and enjoy that Thanksgiving turkey or ham or whatever, maybe cooking on up, maybe some stuffing, mashed potatoes. Let me know, what are you having for Thanksgiving lunch or dinner today? I'm definitely curious about that. Might help me make my decision there. But again, for those tuning on in a little bit later, we still have lake effect snow warnings here. Big update. Again, I mentioned coastal Ashtabula getting the short end of the stick. They've actually downgraded you literally during the course of this live stream from the lake effect snow warning to the winter weather advisory, because I don't see 6 inches in Ashtabula itself or closer to the coast, 90 points north. Interior Ashtabula, I could definitely see 6 inches by tomorrow afternoon, but not along the coast. And I think that's going to be the same idea, Madison included, where it's only going to be a couple of inches out there later on tonight. So that's what it looks like there. Again, let me know what you're seeing out there, what you're planning for Thanksgiving, maybe some what kind of meals you're cooking up there. But again, let's go Power 5 radar here. And there it is. There's the band. Let me try to draw it out for you, actually. Yeah, it's right there. There's the band. Doesn't look too crazy because it's been sheared, and that's why you have a little bit of this lighter snow even for Ashtabula. If this wasn't here, the wind a little bit lighter, then we would have had a blockbuster band, but that is not happening. So don't worry about last end of November happening again this time around. We're not going to be seeing that, so don't worry about that. But what I am seeing, though, is that heavy snow. You could see it. Look, even in the last few minutes, watch it wobble. Literally, the wobble is about to push into Cleveland. Watch this. Instead of here, it drops. You see that in the last few minutes? I'm going to do it again. Drop. One more time. Drop. There. So it's now about to, quote unquote, make landfall. Literally at Burke Airport, right along Dead Man's Curve, we're seeing that heavy snow picking on up pretty quick. Let me see if I can actually pull up, let's see here. So we got, yeah, I mean, look at that. This has actually gotten worse since I first joined with you because the visibility, it's about a quarter mile. You can barely see. And the roads, not a lot of blacktop. So definitely salt not helping out too much. These are what the roads are going to look like later this evening and tonight. And when you factor in the fact that the sun goes down, so we lose the light visibility, we get even heavier snow than this, that's a recipe for issues in the primary snow belt, even parts of the secondary snow belt just south of Cleveland itself, closer to the 480 corridor along 77. It's going to be a rough go later on this evening. So there's the deal for that. That's what it looks like there. Any questions, let me know. Let's see. John mentioning happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, John. Yeah, listen, appreciate all the kind words. Again, you know where to find me on Facebook at Allan Weather, Instagram and X and TikTok, Allan Weather. I'm there. Any questions, feel free to message me, put it in the comments of any of the posts that you're seeing across your Facebook feed today. That's what it looks like right now. One more quick look at the radar before I let y'all go. Again, happy Thanksgiving for those that are planning to do the turkey pretty soon. Again, we're seeing that heavy snow. Wherever you see this darker blue color, that is about an inch of snow per hour. And we can see that pretty much lining up. But the reason why we're not getting the high totals, you'd want this to basically be like a train track, like one singular line. But it looks like blobs, blob here, blob there, blob here. It's been struggling because it's been too windy. Too much of a good thing causes this shearing effect. Basically, what that means is the storm is not as strong, the snow is not as strong, the cloud's not as big to produce the blockbuster totals, but still, it is impactful because of all the travel going on. So please be extra careful out there on the roads. Again, this is really only for the primary and somewhat secondary snow belt. Everyone else, light snow, but the cold and the wind, that will be the big story for you. So Akron Point South and inland, maybe a little bit of light snow for you, but it's really about the cold and the wind. So stay warm, my friends. Happy Thanksgiving. And make sure to check back in, News 5 at 4 o'clock, and to tune on in by following me along on social media at Allan Weather. For now, though, I'm going to end it here. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the turkey. Enjoy the stuffing. Enjoy the mashed potatoes, the cranberry sauce. Oh, enjoy all of it. All right. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all.